We are live now. Get the iPad. We got a thumbs up. I don't know if the boys are on there or not. That works. Sorry, let me turn the volume down a little bit. Picks up just about everything. Where's your volume? There we go. Okay.
Can you hand me my black?
Sorry. There you go. Alright. What kind of stuff? Okay.
Who's on?
I can't see, baby. I would say the boys, possibly. Miss Bev. I shared it with multiple people.
Oh,
Okay. All right. So if you can hear us, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat box. Or a thumbs up. Passing my headphones.
can we be heard?
All right. Go ahead and talk to me.
Can we be heard? Bridget Knight. One.
Yeah.
Who's Bridget?
Oh, from Nashville.
Nashville.
Shalom, Miss
Shalom,
Bridget.
Shalom.
Okay.
Cool.
Ready?
Okay. We'll start with prayer.
Sure.
You gonna pray?
Absolutely.
All
Most High Yah, in the name of Yeshua, we thank you for this day. We thank you for being sovereign and mighty. We thank you for your word that is true, that is holy, that is pure, that is righteous, for the saving power of your word. We just thank you for being awesome. We ask that you would bless this Bible study and those that are on the internet in different places. We ask you bless them right where they are, that you pour into their lives, and that they would receive more and more of you, Heavenly Father. So we just thank you for this day. We ask that you would be with us and speak through us. And then Yeshua, our Messiah, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, we're in John chapter 6, or Yochanan, or John, or Yochanan, or whatever, however you want to say it. We're in John 6th chapter. And let's start in verse 1.
And I have it set up for 1 through 40.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So John 6, verse 1, and it reads, After these things, Yahshua went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. And a great multitude followed him because they saw his miracles, which he did on them that were diseased. And Yahshua went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, a feast of the Yahudim, was nigh. When Yahshua then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he saith unto Philip, Whence shall we buy bread that these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Okay, we'll stop right there really quick. We got to understand that sometimes things happen just to see where you're at. How you gonna react? What you gonna do? You know, how is a certain how you gonna handle a certain situation? And it's one thing to say when we kind of get into a, you know, I don't know, spiritual high or whatever, and you know, I'm a king, I'm a priest of God, I'm a king, I'm a ruling and reigning. Okay, that's fine, but we got to be able to handle practical things. We got to be able to handle practical situations. And a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but there are some times where it's just, I'm just curious what my son is going to do when this happens. Mm-hmm. I'm curious how my daughter is going to react when this happens. Right. So that's just something that, because we're not robots, even though they're trying to, whatever.
Thank you.
But so we do have the freedom of choice. And, you know, sometimes, and it's not even about what are we, it's a good teacher for us too, to kind of see where we are, you know. So I just thought that was interesting that was in there. All right, well, you got anything?
Not yet.
Okay, all right, we'll pick up in verse 7. Mm-hmm. Philip answered him, 200 penny worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. Mm-hmm. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon's Peter, brother, said unto him, There is a lad here, which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. Mm. But what are they among so many? Okay, I do have some there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in verse 9 it says, There is a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. But what are they among so many? And so that just stuck out over the last 2 days. What are these among so many? How is he supposed to feed this many with so little? And he's showing us the mustard seed. He's showing us the yeast that fills the whole batch. He's showing us the impact of what just a few can do when Yah is ever present and supplying the need. And what we're going to see is there is an endless supply from the source. Jeremy talks about that Yah is able to pour without measure, that he's able to give the measure of faith, the measure of rule. And you just see a glimpse of that they're saying, but we don't have enough, mm-hmm. you know, mm-hmm. and not fully understanding who it is that is with them, because mm-hmm. he's able to do all things according to his riches and glory. And his supply is endless. His storehouse is full. Mm-hmm. And he's about to do what he do. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Very true. Very true. Verse 10, and Yahshua said, Make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place. So the men sat down in number about 5,000. And Yahshua took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise of the fishes as much as they would. Okay, so Tom, yes, because in the bottom of my Bible, the text says it originally omits to the disciples and the disciples to the people. In the Orthodox Jewish Bible, it says, Therefore, Rebbe Melech HaMoshiach took the loaves, and having made the barak, or given thanks, he distributed to the ones reclining, Likewise, he distributed the fish as much as they were wanting. And so we'll see that come up again as we get further, and he's talking about the bread and the will and the feet, and his the food and the will and who the food is and what the bread is. But in other texts, it does not say that he gave it to the disciples and the disciples gave it to them. That's actually omitted in some of the original things. So I thought that stood out.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Very interesting. Now we have a scenario where they are what is it? They went up into a mountain. Yep, verse 3. They went up into a mountain. And then all these people came. Right? They went up into a mountain. All these people came, and he says, "Sit them down." Okay. So now they're going to take these barley loaves and they're going to take this fish. He's going to bless it. Okay. And he made the people sit down, and they're up in a now. Just because it says mountain doesn't mean that they're like at the peak of Mount Everest or something. Okay. But they're in a mountain. They're in an area where everybody can sit. Everybody can be at peace. Okay. Now, let's turn. We're going to come back to John 6. Let's turn to Genesis 39.
Okay.
So I think it was last week. I think we ended chapter 5 was that he said, if you would have believed Moses, you would what? Believe me.
That's what he said.
Because he did what? He wrote of me. Okay. So Genesis 39. We're going to look at something. Now, for a lot of us, some of us, we've had different routes getting here, right? Some, you may have been somewhere and you were kind of with a more messianic kind of congregation or messianic kind of group. And there's a phrase that is very true, very Hebraic. And you've probably heard the Mashiach ben David, right? This Messiah, like son of David, kingly, fighting, And then you have, if you've ever heard of the Mashiach ben Yosef or Mashiach ben Joseph, the suffering servant, right? The one that suffers, right? So we can look at Mashiach and we can look at him being the lamb, and then we are, still waiting for the lion, right? For the kingly lion. So when we talk about the Joseph, just want to bear, because he is not of Joseph's loins, but there's something that his daddy told him. So we're going to look at Genesis 39. I told y'all Genesis 39,
you did,
but it's probably 49.
Yes, sir.
So if you know me, it's nothing new. I turn the ball over a little bit. That's how I do. Genesis 49 will start in 22, and it says, Joseph is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by the well, whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him and hated him. But his bow abode in strength. By the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel, even by the God of thy father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, who shall bless thee, with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lieth under, blessings of the breast, and blessings of the womb. The blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors, unto the utmost bound of everlasting hills. They shall be the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. Okay, so we just read Genesis 49, 22 through 26. So we have a picture of Mashiach getting ready to bless 5,000 men plus women plus children. Okay. Now, something is said about Joseph. We have Jacob called all his sons together, right? So we got his sons, and then we also have we got his sons there.
Mhm.
He's getting ready to tell each one something about their children as far as the latter day, right? As far as the latter day, and Joseph is very fruitful. Okay, Joseph gets shot. Joseph is hated. Archers shoot at him. Okay, but it says, but his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd. That's interesting because we know that David was a shepherd. Like there are certain people that have been shepherds, right? Moshe, shepherd. Off the top of my head, I even think Joseph. I'm not for sure, but don't hold me to that. But point being is that in this specific prophecy that Jacob is talking to Joseph, he's talking about first a shepherd. And then after the shepherd, what does he say? The stone of Israel. Interesting. The stone of Israel. Now we're not going to turn it. We have certain sections, and I think Isaiah, where it talks about the cornerstone, the precious cornerstone, and that this is the stone that the people rejected, right? It became a stone of stumbling to them. I think Peter talks about how they stumble at the word, which they stumble at the stone, which is the word, right? We know that the Yochanan says what in the beginning of John 1:1 that the word became flesh, right? This word became flesh. So we have something that is said about a shepherd and a stone of Israel, and that is made mighty by the strong hands of the mighty Elohim of Yaakov, the mighty God of Jacob. Then after that it says, even by the God of thy father who shall help thee, and by the Almighty who shall bless thee with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep, and that lieth underneath, blessing of the breast, blessing of the womb. So a lot of times, especially us over here in the West, when we think about blessings, we think about, and it's an aspect of that, like prosperity and health and different things like that. But sometimes we have to realize that when we're dealing with Yah, we do have to think big, and we got to think about the big picture. So when Yah thinks big, you might have to go 2,000 years this way. 3,000 years this way, right? So something that was said about the blessings of heaven, the blessings of the deep, the blessings underneath, the blessings of the breast, blessings of the womb. The 26, the blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors. So then at the end, it says that, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. So Joseph, in his prophecy here from Jacob, there is a correlation to him being a head and a crown upon his head, and then him being separate from his brothers. Now Moses says something. We talked about this last. Moses said something last week about Yah's going to raise up a prophet among the who? Brethren. I'm gonna put my word in his mouth. He's going to speak what I say, and if there's a problem with it, I got an issue with you. Okay, I got an issue with you. So we have Mashiach sitting down amongst the people, and you won't believe what he's sitting, how he sit is because what it says is they're up in the mountain and he sees all these people. So we have to kind of put ourselves in an ancient mind frame, right? Here we have Yahshua, who is the picture of a shepherd. He's a picture of the shepherd. And he is the stone that will be what? Rejected. But everything is going to be built off of him. Now, we hadn't got that far down the road yet. But the prophecy in Genesis 49 talks about, from thence is the shepherd and the stone of Israel. Okay. And this particular metaphor is being used describing someone who have a crown on their head and they will be separate from their brethren. Now, remember we said last week that Yahshua said, if you would have believed Moses, then you would believe me because he wrote of me. right? So we have to be able to find our Savior in the Torah. We have to find the pictures that point to him in our, in the Torah that points. So it just makes the Gospels and how John's writing and how he's speaking, because this is what he would have studied. Okay, so that was Genesis 49, 22 through 26, talking about Joseph. But we can see that there were some things that's probably over Joseph's head. All right. He was hated of his brethren, and so was Yahshua. There were shots fired, so the blessing that he can bless with is so powerful that I only need 5 pieces of bread and 2 fish. We're going to eat. And we're going to take up some left. Well, I'm going to get too far.
Okay. Can I read 2 Kings 4:42? Then a man came from Baal Shalisha and brought the man of Yah bread of the first fruits, 20 loaves of barley and newly ripened grain in his knapsack. And he said, give it to the people that they may eat. But the servant said, what? Shall I set this before 100 men? He said again, give it to the people that they may eat. For thus says Yah, they shall eat and have some left over. So he set it before them, and they ate and had some left over, according to the word of Yah.
Excellent. Okay. And we're about to go back, John. I'm going to turn to Ecclesiastes 12 and 11. Because we're looking at this scenario in John 6, where they're sitting down and he's all these people and so little food. He's about to feed everybody. And what is being brought out, right? What was something that was one of those things where Paul would say, warfare was written aforetime, written for our learning. That was one of the moments right there. Okay. Even though they didn't have a New Testament, that wasn't written like that. But anyway, it's not the point. So Ecclesiastes 12th chapter. Okay. And the first of this chapter starts off with, remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth. That's how it starts out. Yeah. Now we're going to look at 12 and 11. And it says, the words of the wise are as golds and as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. Amen. Read that again. Right. The words of the wise. Right? How did he draw the people? Right? He was doing miracles. He was preaching, teaching, doing miracles. So the words of the wise are as golds and as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. One shepherd. Okay. All right. Really quick, 1 Kings. 1 Kings, 22nd chapter. You just take these scriptures down and just go back and study them on your own. 1 Kings, 22nd chapter, verse 17. I'm not going to go through all this, but this is, if we remember, Ahab, king of the north, of the house of Israel. And then we had Jehoshaphat, and Jehoshaphat is like, hey man, you got all these wild, crazy dudes around here. Do you got any real prophets? Prophets that I would relate and understand. So he brings a prophet of Yah, and this is what he says in 1 Kings 22 and 17. And he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. And the Lord said, these have no master. Let them return everyone to his house in peace. So we just got in Ecclesiastes that a master will come and will give him wise words. He'll be like a wise shepherd. So we go back to then the Genesis where we was talking about Joseph. But it was like, shepherd, stone of Israel. It's like, who is he pointing? Who is it talking about? Anyway, now Isaiah 40, because we just want to see if it's just something that's just kind of, coinky dink that they're all sitting there and the way they are positioned and where they are, or is that something that is coming to pass? Isaiah 40 and 11. All right, it reads, he shall feed his flock like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arm and carry them in his bosom. He shall gently lead those that are young. It's Isaiah 40 and 11. Okay, so we're just connecting the dots here.
Yeah.
All right, Isaiah 63.
Mm.
Isaiah 63 and 11. Okay, Isaiah 63 and 11. And it reads, Then he remembered the days of old, Moses and his people, saying, Where is he that brought them up out of the sea with the shepherd of his flock? Where is he that put his Holy Spirit within him?
Wow.
Where is he that put the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, within him? Now, we ain't got there yet, but there is a part where somebody breathes on somebody, on some somebodies. And what does he say? Receive ye the Ruach HaKodesh.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just wanted to go through those. That was Genesis 49 through 22, 26, Ecclesiastes 12 and 11, 1 Kings 22 and 17, Isaiah 40 and 11, Isaiah 63 and 11. And we're just looking at the scenario in John and what's really going on. All these people, right? And they've been brought, and the shepherd, the great shepherd is there. Mm-hmm. So it's not a coincidence when we get to chapter 10 that he says, I am the shepherd, right? I am the door. Mm-hmm. But we have not got that, but we can see how this leads up to it.
Right.
We see how it leads up to it. So now we'll go back to John 6. Mm-hmm. And I kind of have in my notes here that since we're seeing Messiah as this great shepherd, this one true shepherd for the flock of Israel, then what does that make his students at this time? Mm-hmm. And I've said this before, that, you know, it's easy to kind of sit and kind of pick them apart. Like, oh man, Peter's wild. He's a wild card. So-and-so doubted, and so-and-so, Judas was a traitor and all this stuff. But, you know, it would be like somebody writing down your life. Mm. How many ups and downs you going to have? How many downs you going to have?
Amen.
Right. So we got to be careful how we look at these brothers and how we look at the disciples who are what? At this time, young. Mm-hmm. They're young with this great teacher, this great master, this great shepherd. So we have the disciples being in a position of hirelings, right? That's not necessarily a knock, right? There are certain things they can't do until he goes, right? It's like, hey, master, why don't they fast? Why don't they do this? Well, why are they going to fast? And I'm here. There ain't no purpose to it. I'm here with them right now. So they are in a position where they cannot chase off wolves yet, right? They haven't got to a position where they can do certain things. So they are still learning. We're going to see this, especially in this chapter. This is a very, very good chapter here. All right. And that was 11. So now we're in 12. When they were filled, he said unto his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Mm-hmm. Therefore, they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves which remained over and above unto them that had eaten. Mm-hmm. Then those men, when they had seen the miracle that Yahshua did, said, this is of a truth that prophet that should come into the world. Yeah. When Yahshua therefore perceived they would come and take him by force to make him a king, mm-hmm. he departed again into a mountain himself alone. Mm. So some of them, their lights started flashing, the fireworks started exploding. This is him. Mm. So let's look at Ezekiel 37 really quick. We're going to come right back. Ezekiel 37. So, I mean, let's just be honest, man. It's 5,000, over 5,000 people out here. Mm. And I'm all the way in the back. I'm like, man, I don't see ain't no buffet line, ain't nothing. Everybody full, but ain't good. Who is this man? Who is the man? Ezekiel 37 and 24. Look what it says. And David, my servant, shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. Mm-hmm. They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. And they shall dwell in a land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt. and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them. I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yea, I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. So in verse 24, Ezekiel 37, it says what? It says that my servant, David, my servant, shall be a king over them, and they shall have. So we have someone being described as David, king, and a shepherd, and that this person will be able to bring peace, bring all kind of things, this everlasting covenant, and not just for me, but for my children and my children and my children. So imagine, okay, let me turn back now. Imagine being an Israelite and you got all kind of stuff going on. You got Pharisees is tripping, Sadducees is tripping. You got Edomites on the throne. You got Romans, and it's just so when you see this happen, and if you remember what your mom or your granddad told you when you was a kid, when you going to the synagogue, going to the temple, and you're hearing these things, hearing these prophecies read, it's like, wait a minute, is this him? So they wanted to make him a king by force, okay, in John 6:15. Well, he perceived that they would. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's like, man, I done showed out on this one. Like, I might have to fall out to the back, because there were people who perceived or who had how to understand it. Now we ain't got to turn there, but in Acts 1:6, they also talk about, will you now restore the kingdom to Israel? Acts 1:6. So, so this was something that it must be in our mind when we read this, because it was in their mind. It's very important in their mind. So, verse 15 again. When Yahshua therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king, he departed again into the mountain himself alone. And when even was now come, his disciples went down into the sea and entered into a ship and went over the sea toward Capernaum. And it was dark, and Yahshua was not come to them. And the sea arose, and by reason of a great wind blew. So when they had rowed about 25 or 30 furlongs, they see Yahshua walking on the sea and drawing nigh to the ship, and they were afraid.
Okay, stop right there. Mm-hmm. All right, go to Job 9. Job chapter 9. We're going to be looking at 1 through 10. And this highlighted in the Orthodox Bible as well. Then Job answered and said, truly I know it is so, but how can a man be righteous before Yah? If one wish to contend with him, he cannot answer him one time out of 1,000. Yah is wise in heart and mighty in strength. Who has hardened himself against him and prospered? He removes the mountains, and they do not know, when he overturns them in his anger. He shakes the earth out of its place, and its pillars tremble. He commands the sun, and it does not rise. He seals off the stars. He alone spreads out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. So it highlighted that verse 9 and 8, that he treads on the waves of the sea. And if they have been in any form of word, then you hear John 6 and you see Yahshua walking on the water. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. And wow, that's very good. So they are headed toward Capernaum. And I had it earlier. It's Capernaum. Capernaum, but it's a combination of the word kafar and nahum. So kafar means village, but it means village with walls, and built from the child root chafar,
Yeah, that's
which
it.
we should know.
Kafar
We're getting ready to go into a time that is called the what? Yom Kippur, right? So the root word, the child root for chafar, means to cover or to purge for a atonement. So going to a place is village with walls, chafar, and then Nahum. Nahum. There is a prophet. Right? When our English would just be called Nahum, but he foretold of the destruction of Nineveh. So they're going to a place, Capernaum, which is like Chapharnum, which is a village of comfort, because Nahum, that prophet, his name meant comfort. Okay, so we talked about last week, places they go, the things that is left out, does have significance. Okay.
20.
But he saith unto them, it is I, be not afraid. Then when they willingly received him into the ship, and immediately the ship was at the land, whither they went the day following, when the people which stood on the other side of the sea saw that there was none other boat there save the one where and two his disciples were entered, and Yahshua went not with his disciples into the boat, but that his disciples were gone away alone. Howbeit, there came into boats from Tiberias, nigh unto the place where they did eat bread after that the master had given thanks. When the people therefore saw that Yahshua was not there, neither his disciples, they also took shipping and came to Capernaum, seeking for Yahshua. And when they had found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, Rabbi, when camest thou hither? And Yahshua answers them, verily, verily, I say unto you, you seek me not because ye saw the miracles, but because you did eat of the loaves and were filled. We'll stop right there.
Hold on. Yes, in verse 24, it says, when the people therefore saw that Yeshua was not there, nor his disciples, they also got into the boats and came to Capernaum, seeking Yeshua. And what question popped in my head is, are we willing to go where he is? Are we willing to go where he is? Yeshua, the way, the truth, the life, the bread from the Shamayim, the living water, the gate, the door, the good shepherd, and he's teaching them the spiritual things through the physical. He's able to take little and make much. And when he says in other gospels that the kingdom of Yah is this, it's like the mustard seed, it's like the pearl, and you sell everything to treasure that. It's like the yeast in the loaf that spreads. It's he's showing the spiritual through the physical aspects. And we see that there. And he said, most assuredly I say to you, you seek me not because you saw the signs, but because I met a physical need. Not because you saw what I did, but because I met a physical need. Did you read 27?
No,
you stopped it. Okay,
26. So what I have, what are our priorities? When it comes to Yahshua, what are our priorities in Yahshua? Like, what do we want? What are you looking for? What are you looking for? Like, what do you want? So when he's like, hey, you're seeking me not because you saw the miracles, but because you did eat of the loaves and were filled. It was good to you. Tasted good. I had the right season and everything. I did it right. That's why you back. So what is it that we want? Like, why? So what is it that we want? Like, what the majority of us, in church, traditional church, it's just about man not going to hell or not, it's there's a fear mongering, but anyway, not going to hell or not, they're like, so what is it that you want? Like, what is it that you want? What are you looking for? So when when these questions are proposed to us, like what is our answer? Like, what is it that you want? Like, why are you seeking me? Right? You know, so there are certain sections in Psalms where it's like, you know, like, are you just looking and looking? Are you inquiring from within? You know, what is it that you are trying to get? You know, and you can't hustle and jive them.
Right.
You can't shook them.
Right.
You know, you can't put on the front. So what is it that you want? You know, what's that movie, The Wizard of Oz? You know, the Tin Man wanted I don't know what he wanted. I can't remember. He was all rusted. I was, you know,
courage,
the
and
lion wanted a heart.
No, lion wanted courage.
Courage, and the Scarecrow wanted a brain, and all this. Dorothy wanted to go back home, and all this mess. What do you want? But we ain't dealing with no wizard. We're dealing with Yah. You know, what do you want? What is your purpose? What are your priorities?
Amen.
Okay, so that's something for all of us to chew on. I mean, that's me too. As soon as I wrote that down, really mainly for myself.
That's good. CJ Memphis says, "What profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul?" And the Tin Man wanted a heart.
Heart.
Yeah.
Tin Man.
And then I'll just add on to what Jeremy said. We talked about who Yeshua was, but he's going to be where his father is. He's going to be in the Shabbat. He's going to be in the holy days, the Moed. He's going to be dwelling in righteousness, which is found in his word. So, you know, that was good. Why am I seeking him? Am I trying to get a physical need met, or am I trying to grow spiritually in him?
Yeah, and that's one reason why earlier in this chapter that he perceived they would try to make him a king by force, because and there are other prophecies to choose from, but then Ezekiel 37, you know, it's talking about, you know, my servant David, a shepherd and a king and a shepherd of my people, and after that it talked about, you know, the tabernacle of Elohim being amongst the people. So some people, you know, their desire might be, yes, like I want that to happen. You know, you say the Lord's Prayer, the Tefillah Hadon, you know, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Like you actually want that to come. Some say it just out of reps. You just said it, and you just said it, and you just say, and you don't really even know. Like that's really not a priority. Like it's just something to say, you know. So now let's look at verse 27. This is what he said. He said, "Labor not for the meat which perish, but for that meat which endureth unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him hath God the Father sealed." They said unto him, "What shall we do that we might work the works of God?" Yeshua answered and said unto them, "This is the work of Elohim, that you believe on him whom he has sent." Bam.
Okay.
What did we say last week? You believed in Moses. You should believe me. He wrote of me. Deuteronomy 18. What did he say? He said, "I'll put my words in his mouth." So he says, now there's a Greek word here when it talks about, then he said unto them, "What shall we do that we might work the works of God?" Yeshua answered and said unto him, "This is the work." This is the ergon, Greek. This is the business. This is the employment of Yah, right? And the first thing you got to do is believe. That's the first thing. How do I do this work? How do I? They want to know how do we do this? How do we do this? Believe. Okay, believe what? Believe that this is the work of God, that ye believe on him whom he hath sent. That's the very, very beginning right there. Is to believe. That Greek word is pistio. Believe, think to be true. You got confidence. So when we look at just modern religion, man, it's a pistio. To believe the work of God is pistio. Think to be true, have confidence. Well, I don't have confidence in Sunday. I'm sorry. I don't have confidence in, going against Leviticus 11 dietary. I don't have. There's no confidence. There's nothing in that. So we got to have, and that is built from the word pistis, right, in Greek, which it means to have a conviction or to be thoroughly persuaded, right? So a lot of people think they're about the work or the business of Yah, and they're not, because of the ergon, right? They're not of the business or employment because they don't really believe. They don't have, it's not confidence. And just because you don't think it, don't mean it's still wrong, right? This is the amen. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Isaiah 55:2. It says, why do you spend money for what is not bread, and your wages for what does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me and eat what is good, and let your soul delight itself in abundance. Incline your ear and come to me. Hear, that's probably Shema, and your soul shall live, and I will make an everlasting covenant with you, the sure mercies of David.
Let your soul delight itself.
And Jeremy had touched on belief, and it's faith, that the belief is faith requiring an action. And in James 2:18, we talked about this last week. It says, show me your faith without works, and I will show you faith by works. And so, not that we're working to earn salvation, but there is a love here for what he's already done, and that you're going to walk in obedience. And that's a great point. I was talking to Jeremy the other night, and we said it's all going to come back to obedience. You can't say, I can't say, my boys can't say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. But I'm saying, hey, get your beds made. Hey, get this done. And they never obey. And he says to be like children. And when you look at children, they want so bad to please their parents. They want, what do you need? How can I help? Love you. They forgive so easy. And we're to be just like children. And it's like, Father, what do you want? What do you need me to do? I love you. Just if you have children, looking at your own children and how much they desire to please you and want what you want. And they're looking to you as their source until they come to know, Yeshua and Yah themselves. They're looking to their parents as the source. We go to a store and a stranger says something to the boys look at me first to see how I'm going to respond. And we have to look to Yah first. We have to look to him first. But I thought 27 was very powerful. And because you see this aspect of him feeding them with little, multiplying it, raising it to an exponential power, actually. And he's saying, but even in that physical need being met, do not labor for the food which perishes, but for the food which endures to everlasting life, which the Son of Man will give you. And so that's why when this part says that, it doesn't say that he gave it to the disciples. He says he passed it out to the people who were reclining. And then you see it in 27, which the Son of Man will give you because Yah, our Abba, our Father, has set his seal on him. And then immediately I thought a seal, I thought a signet ring, I thought, of all Zerubbabel and just all of that stuff. He has set a seal on him. And you hear seal again when they talk about the Ruach HaKodesh and promise. It's a seal. So, 30.
Yeah. So we'll look at verse 39 again. So his answer, Yahshua answered and said, verse 29, Yahshua answered and said unto them, this is the work of Elohim, that ye believe on him whom he hath sent. So that's the beginning. So, real simple. Just believe on him whom he sent. They said therefore unto him, What sign showest thou then, that we may see and believe thee? What dost thou work? Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, and it is written, right? So they come with scripture.
Yeah.
Right? He gave them bread from heaven to eat.
Come on.
Then Yahshua said unto them,
Moses.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not the bread from heaven,
Father.
but my Father giveth you the true bread from the Shemayim. For the bread of Elohim is he which cometh down from heaven and giveth life unto the world.
Life, people.
Then said they unto him, Lord, evermore give us this bread. Okay, so we have a conversation going, and you ever talk with somebody and, you know, you're here, and I don't mean it in a negative way, but you're talking up here and they talking here. Now you talking about the same thing, but you're up here talking and they here talking. And this is what's going on here. They're literally talking about bread, but they're looking at physical bread that will take me somewhere spiritually. Not possible. Nothing of this earth I'm going to eat. Okay, let me back up a little bit. Back up the truck. Turn the music down. Back up. Focus. Everybody be quiet. Hush. Remember when they was crossing the water and they were very afraid. We had to keep in mind that the Israelites were like most ancient civilizations, extremely spiritual. But their thought of spiritual is, lighting incense, right? We see it all in the Old Testament. Even the righteous kings, with the exception, I think, Josiah and Hezekiah, even though they might have been a good king, they still had incense coming at the high places. Well, whether it was incense for good luck, whether it was incense to ward off spirits, so these were very spiritual people. If you study anything about West Africa, when you look at West Africa, you got a lot of different tribes, like how the Bible talks about the groves. Well, in West Africa, you had a lot of tree worship, right? For the exact same, to ward off evil spirits, to keep the evil spirits away, to bring the good spirits. But now, Yahshua, so now back to where we are in this conversation. So you got spiritual people, but it's more of folklore. Right, it's more, and I don't mean fairy tale in a bad way, but it's just when they're thinking spiritual, they're not thinking spiritual how he talking spiritual, and now they're talking physical, but now he's talking spiritual. So they're trying to get somewhere spiritually, live forever, everlasting life, but I'm eating physical bread, like not possible. So you can't take something physical and then all of a sudden shift over to something spiritual, right? That's that kind of lot of, which this is where Hellenization's creeped in, right? What's that fountain of youth? If you find the fountain of youth, you drink the water, you live forever, or you're immortal or something now. So he's like, no. Like there is a bread that you can eat to where you can live. And they're like, well, hey, let me get some of that. Well, where is it at? You got it on you? Can I have some? Can I try? Can I buy some? And you cannot take something that's physical and then all of a sudden, metamorphose into something now spiritual, and he's talking about something different, right? They're talking about manna, they're talking about bread, they're talking about Moshe, talking about something that came from heaven. And they're like, no, what your father has sent to you from heaven is right here looking at you. Right, and they don't get it, and it's okay because a lot of stuff we didn't get anyway. Verse 33: For the bread of heaven is of.
You were on 35.
35. Thank you. And Yahshua said unto them, I am that bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. But I said unto you, that ye also have seen me and believe not. All that the Father giveth me shall come to me, and him that cometh to me, I will in no wise cast out. For I came down from heaven. For I came down from heaven. So he's telling them my origin. For I came down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. So the beginning of this was, how do I get to do this work? Believe that ye believe on him whom he hath sent. Okay, verse 38, for I came down from heaven not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. Verse 39, for this is the Father's will which hath sent me, that of all which he hath given me, I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day.
Come on. 40.
And this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day.
Okay, so I had a couple of things. Question: have we been given to the Son? Because it says, all that the Father gives me will come to me, and the one who comes to me I will by no means cast out. All that the Father gives to me, has the Father given us to the Son? Because if so, this is the will of the Father who sent me, that all that he has given me, I should lose nothing, but will raise it up at the last day. So let's figure out where we at. You know, have we made in our minds that we want to be part of the people that the Father has chosen to give to the Son? Everything given to the Son shall be raised to life at the last day. That's what he just said. He said, and this is the will of him who sent me, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. I made a note, everlasting life or second death. There is no everlasting death. You don't have that. Torah, it talks about when Moses was in there, and he talks about the book, and he was like, blot me out. And then y'all was like, I ain't blotting you out. I'm going to blot out those who don't obey. So you have blotted out of the book, and then you have Paul, who says that the wages of sin or the wages of lawlessness is death. Death. So that lake of fire, that's for the Satan and the beast and the dragon or the false prophet. And now they're angels, going to, that says that fire is reserved for them forever. But those who don't believe will be cast into that, the second death. There is no, you blotted out the book. There is no more.
In other words, you weren't created for that punishment. There's nothing about you like Yah would have to keep. He would have to keep you alive, survive the lake of fire like that. Like you were not. Nothing about you is made. We're going to talk about this during Sukkot, but nothing about you is like them. Like we are completely unique in that we are not spiritual. We're in a body of flesh. Now, what's unique
in us
is what's within that Yah is doing, right? And that there will come a time at the appearance of Yahshua that, we go from one kind of glory to a whole nother kind of glory. Then we'll be like them, right? We will be as he is, but we're not there yet. But that's a transition that we'll have to go to. But as far as the angels and the ugly one, and their punishment is made strictly really for them, right? Because we'll hopefully tune in on Shabbat, and we'll some of that we're going to actually cover.
And what was some? Oh yeah, and Paul, like in Corinthians, and I believe in Peter or Timothy, you'll see that he keeps saying that we have to take this tent off. That this is a temporary dwelling. Like this has to come off. That's right. This because flesh and blood cannot enter into the kingdom of Yah. So this in which our soul, our spirit is dwelling in, it has to come off. He's going to take this off.
Mhm.
This has to come off.
I think
And so-
one of the brothers said, "Not the ugly one." Like, yeah, the ugly. There was an old school brother that said that, man, years ago. I was like, "Oh man, I like that." He kept saying, "He said the ugly." He said the ugly one. Talking about the devil. I like that, bro. I'm gonna take that from the old school. I'm gonna take that one.
But some good points tonight. Why am
Mhm.
I seeking Yah? And we see the shepherd feeding. We see Jeremy brought out several verses of that, but we also see them when they're at the mountain or in the hills, that he's feeding them.
Mhm.
And then he's going to take what he did, that what they could see,
Mhm.
and bring it into a spiritual level, to look at it as spiritual, because he does say that the law is spiritual, it's holy, and it's good.
Mhm.
And so we have to see those things. We always have to remember that there's an endless supply from the source. And when he's blessing, and when he is doing the work, it could be multiplied. It could be multiplied exponentially.
Mhm.
That we must be seeking Yeshua. We have to decide that we are willing to go where he is. Verse 27 was a key verse for me. Do not labor for the food which perishes.
Mhm.
Because, we're in a world where we're always working, always pushing, always, trying to get stuff done. And he says, but the food that endures to everlasting life. And then he says that he is the bread.
Mhm.
That it says that what did he say? He said, Ani hu lakim haikayim. He is the bread of life. And then our faith requires action.
Hmm.
And have we been given to the Son?
Yeah. And I think we could probably run through that.
No, we're not.
Okay. But so we'll pick up next week.
But we have to get to 71.
Well, I mean, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But as we get when we get back to this, you have just the dialogue. They just on different levels.
Yeah.
And you got Yahshua talking about things that are once big picture. So as quote unquote Christians, you accept Christ because I don't want to burn. I want to make it, but that's not necessarily all that Yah had intended. Like there's other things that comes with taking Mashiach on. Like that, there's other reasons for that, and they're huge, right? It's not just that you saved your turkey bacon. That saying, if I saved my behind, I saved my bacon. You saved your turkey bacon. That's not what it's all about. There's so much we have to consider. Creation is out of order, right? So not just people, nature, weather, things are so we got to think big. And that so what he is proposing to them is way over their head right now, because there is a aspect of a systemic religious system that has been set, right? I mean that's not and that's not some ways not bad, but some ways it is bad when we get to kind of going through the New Testament. It's definitely gotten worse when we look at modern Christianity today. So. For a lot of people, we're way behind, and we're not kind of caught up to where we need to be, because we're not at the point where just how do I enter into this contest? How do I get in? And he answered, and he said to them, "This is the work of Elohim, that you believe on Him whom He has sent." So your actions, your life, things following behind your belief, but with that being said, we will pick up the second half
next week
of this 41 through 71, some very, very really good stuff here. And this is where, without going too far, this is where, where they said, man, this is some hard stuff you're saying, bro.
Yeah, and many
people
walked away.
Many walked away. So we got to understand that we don't have, like, we weren't living like Israelites then. Like, we can't, it's kind of hard to imagine to live in like that back then. So they rejected, right? And they were closer to the culture.
They were looking at him.
They were looking right at him. So we got to ask ourselves, do I know him if I see him? If I hear him, does it resonate with me?
Amen.
Or will I be talking about, man, I'm an Israelite, yada, 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 and then you got Yah talking up here. And clearly there was some disconnect. And what did it eventually lead to? Man, I'm out.
Yeah, that's very true.
I chunked the deuces on. I'm out.
Yeah, they denied the stone.
So we all are trying to get in by the hair on our chinny chin.
I'm real quick before we go. Our boys are watching, and they did say the 10 men wanted a heart, and the hey man, I don't know the name, wanted a brain.
The only way we can keep them from running back and forth, we had to send them upstairs.
Here's the video, baby.
Make y'all.
And
watch.
then they said, "We do obey you." And yes, you guys do. And we love you very much. You're very good boys. Got some good boys.
Got some good boys. So, well, thank you, everybody, brothers and sisters. CJ Memphis, Pastor Battle, Sister Bridget, Miss Bev, Aaron,
Tikwa was on
there.
Yeah.
Tikwa.
All right.
I'm gonna have your seat for you too. I got you.
You guys have a great week.
Absolutely. We'll see y'all next time, and may Yah bless you and keep you. May make his face to shine upon you. May lift up his countenance upon you. And just may you have shalom.
Amen.
And us too. Amen. Hallelujah.
Night.
All right. Peace. Shalom, y'all.
Say something about us.
We did.